Well, it's that time of the year again. We have to put our bikes to bed. Winter's come, nowhere to ride. You don't want to go out there in the salt, the snow, the ice, and real cold. So what are we going to do? Well, there's all kinds of things we can do and what we should do. And in this episode, we're preparing both the bike and ourselves for that long winter nap that the bike's going to have, and hopefully we don't have to have. We're going to be busy, and that's what we're going to do in this episode. Is what do we need to do to get ready for winter? Hi, I'm Glenn. I'm your foreshore rider, and as you probably already know, I'm a motorcycle instructor, trainer, coach. And my goal is really, through these videos and through my website, is to help you become a better rider and a safer rider. So having said that, in this particular video, what I'd like to do is to show you what you can do to get your bike ready for the winter, to make it as good as possible, and also what you can do to help pass the time and maybe learn a few things along the way. So we finally have found out we're not riding this bike anymore for the rest of this season. So what we've done is we brought it inside, getting it all ready, and you notice it's nice and clean. Now why would we make sure that it's nice and clean? Well, we want to remove as much dirt as we can, and some of my favorite products are right here. Plexus, a little bit of Mothers, and some good polish or a good wash that you can use on top of it. I like Plexus at the end because it still gives it a good shine, especially when you're finished washing it. And take a look at Big Blue right here. We got it all cleaned up and ready to tuck away. But before we do, we got some other things to do, and that's to use some fog, some cable, and some stable to make sure that our gasoline that is inside the bike is okay throughout the winter months. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up. And you'll note in this case we have a bar that tells you how much you should fill up your gas tank. And I've got it filled up basically to the bar to keep as much air out of it as I possibly can. And it has stable to match the amount of fuel that is on the inside. Now some people don't like to put fuel in there. They like to empty it. I like to leave it there. That's with my fuel injected bike. But I also have a bike that has carburetors. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the fuel valve and turn it to off. Then I'm going to look over at the carburetors themselves, and I'm going to drain the gas out of the bottom of them to make sure that they're clear and they're clean, but do it responsibly. Once I've got that all taken care of and the stable's been run through the gas, I take the keys out and make sure that I don't lose the keys and put them away for the winter. So let's take a look at what we're going to do with the bike itself. I like to keep the tires up off of the ground, especially when it's wire wheels. And you notice that I've made a homemade lift. Made it specifically for this particular bike, sitting in. And the tire is about a half an inch or about a 2 centimeters, centimeter and a half, 2 centimeters off the ground. That's all it takes. So all the weight is on the forks on the front. In the back, I'm very lucky. This particular bike has a center stand. So it's up in the center stand. The rear tire is off the ground. So therefore, both of my tires are off the ground. The weight is on the center stand and my make-believe stand on the front. If you want to call it a make-believe stand. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the plugs. The reason I'm doing this is I'm going to put fog. Remember that fog we had at the beginning? I'm going to spray some of the fog down inside of each of the cylinders, put the spark plugs back on, and I'm just going to turn the engine over several times so that the fog goes down inside the cylinder so it doesn't rust. And again, once you've done it, remove those keys from the particular bike that you're working on. Now, next thing, once I've got the fog in and so on, it's the battery's turn. And our battery is extremely important. I can hook it up to a maintainer by leaving it inside the bike, and that's perfectly okay, especially if the temperature is above zero. But if it's not, it's going to go down below zero. We better remove that battery, take it inside, and keep it warm. A warm battery remains stronger longer in warm weather. And you'll notice I'm taking off the negative pole before I take off the positive pole. And that's the way you should do it. Pop it out, put the screw back inside the nut, that way you don't lose it. I've done that, this is through experience. And then I'm going to take the positive and I will do exactly the same thing. Boy, I'm good at that, aren't I? I'm a legend in my own mind. Okay, both nuts are back in. Now the next thing is to take the battery out. And you notice the style of this battery? This is one that requires maintenance. And that's one of the reasons I do want to take it out. And I will check each one of the cells to make sure everything is okay. If not, I will add acid or water or whatever is needed. Now that I got everything completed, that's pretty simple. I've put covers on both my bikes. That's going to keep a lot of the dust off. Those covers, by the way, will allow moisture to run through it so it doesn't accumulate. And I'm now ready to start in the spring. Number one, read. Yes, read. There's all kinds of things out there to read. Books, magazines, digital, doesn't matter. Read. And if you want to read as well, there's a plenty on the internet that you can read over, including my website, which just happens to be right here at www.forshorerider.weebly.com. And you'll find all kinds of tips on how to be a rider. There's also video links there and so on. So that's just one site. There's plenty of them out there. There's all kinds of really good ones as well. And I make no bones about telling you there are very many of them out there that are very reputable. It makes a really good read. But at the same time, just be careful about some of the stuff you read. Okay? And put it together. Some people will say this, some people say that. That's up to you to disseminate between the two of them. 2, watch. There's plenty out there to watch, especially with the advent of YouTube and other platforms similar to that. There's a lot of really good sites that you can watch. There's some places that are not as good. And again, a lot of it may be opinionated, but you will find things that will help you along the way. Riding skills, also how to maintain your bike. And in a lot of cases, you're looking for a way to do something with your bike. Chances are, it just might be out there that you can watch. I also have a channel that you can watch as well, and that is my Foreshore Rider Concepts channel. It contains tips, it contains riding, it contains places you may have never been to that I visited, and I just made a video of them. Give it a chance, take a look. You might like it, you might not, but it's there if you want to look at it. By the way, don't always watch the motorcycle crashes. It's kind of a downer. You can learn from the crashes and find out, okay, what did they do wrong? But let's look at some more things that are very positive instead of just looking at crashes. Number 3, learn. And learning can take a lot of different ways. You know, we are all lifelong learners. And there's an old saying that one of us doesn't know as much as all of us. And having said that, have you ever thought about investing in yourself and taking a motorcycle training course? If you haven't ridden a bike at all, have you thought about taking the basic course to get yourself started? If you've been riding for years, my suggestion is to help refresh your skills, get you back on the saddle, especially in the springtime. Take an ERC, the Experienced Rider course, or you could take the advanced course, which is going to give you even more ideas and techniques how to become a more skilled rider. Number 4, reading material. Oh yes, more reading material. But this time, get to know your bike a little bit better. Have you introduced yourself to it lately? There are some ways you can. Either read the owner's manual over again, or perhaps pick up some of these Clymer and Haynes books, and even to the point where some of them are from the manufacturer. Get those, go through those and see just exactly what your bike is like. Because in some cases you might find that nuts and bolts on your bike have not been torqued properly because you didn't know what the torque settings were. These books will have it. Also, if you go to your dealer, they usually have the OEM book that you can purchase for your service. Number 5, speaking of service, how about doing some just basic maintenance? Check your bike over. See how it is. Look at the brakes. Are they dirty? And by the way, if your brakes are dirty, this is a safety tip, don't use any grease on them. Don't go and clean them with soap and water. Clean your discs with isopropyl alcohol. You will be surprised at what you'll take off. Take a look at your brake pads. How are they? Do they need to be replaced? How about your oil? How about any of the other fluids in your bike? How about your tires? Do they need to be replaced? Are they okay? Did you really take a good look at them lately to see if there's any punctures in them? Just simple maintenance like that. Get the things ready so that when you come out, and this, by the way, is only if you have access to it. Some of you may not have access to your bike during the winter, but if you do, like I do, I have a garage here, I will make sure that when I wheel that bike out the back door, it's ready to go. And so am I. Which brings me to the last thing that we can throw in here at you today, and that's number 6. How about doing some exercises? It's great for you, but it's also great for your riding. You see, it takes a little bit of muscular work to move these bikes around. So why not get some exercise over the winter, stretching as well, so that when you come out to do motorcycle riding, you're going to be buff and you're ready to go. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to pass some of that time that you have in the winter. And hey, we could all use that. Anyway, this is Foreshore Rider. What I'd like to say to you right now is the fact that it's a pleasure coming to see you on a regular basis like this. And keep in mind, regardless if it's a winter, when you're ready to go back out on the highway, always ride skilled, ride smart, and ride safe. Take care.